So, bonjour tout le monde. Today is another live French lesson, and so we're continuing on vocabulary that we had looked in the previous ones, which were for like the masculine and feminine singular, il, elle, and talking about where people are from, like your family members or friends. And today we're going to look at this vocabulary in the plural. So we are going to, let me just get a screen share here, and we are going to, just 1 second here. So just checking to see if people can see my screen. Okay, yeah, so this is vocabulary that we looked at in the previous section here for kind of brother, sister, husband, wife, daughter, son, girlfriend, boyfriend, father, mother, friend. So these would be in these masculine, feminine, like mon and ma. And today we will be looking at these in plural. So mes is the plural for these adjectives. So mes fils, mes filles, mes frères, mes sœurs, mes amis, mes parents, mes cousins, mes cousines, mes grands-parents. And I remember when I was first learning French, I had made a mistake when I visited some family in Paris, and I was filming them, and I said, okay, voici mes cousines. I had pronounced this this E ending, but I was with a mixed group of people, so men and women. So they quickly corrected me to say, no, it should be mes cousins. So I do actually have French family. My great grandfather was Alsatian, so from the region of Alsace. And when he was about 17, he left France. He took a transatlantic, and I think he went from Havre to New York. And there's actually on the Ancestry.com, I found like proof that he arrived there. So I might put a picture of that from the Ellis Island arrival, and I think that was like 1882. He was born in 1865, so he was about 17 years old. And then so my family, I'm American because my great grandfather left the Alsace region and decided to start a new life in the Americas, in America. So, okay, so that's a little bit of my family history. Okay, so I'll read these one more time. So, mes fils, mes filles, mes frères, mes sœurs, mes amis, mes amis. So you can't really hear the difference between mes amis, if it's masculine or feminine. You'd have to see that in spelling. Mes parents, mes cousins, mes cousines, et mes grands-parents. Okay, and I remember my father-in-law is French, and when my son was born, my French father-in-law, he's been living in Mexico for a long time. So in Spanish, when you use the plural, like abuelos, it is a mixed group. So I think he had said something like, now we are grandfathers. So he said something like, maintenant nous sommes des grands-pères. He was using the masculine form like in plural, but French doesn't do that. You wouldn't say like nous sommes des grands-pères unless you were two men who were saying you were two grandfathers. So to, like in English, grandparents, you have grands-parents. I need to double check. I think there's a hyphen here, but so yeah, to say what my father-in-law had said, he was saying basically that now we are grandfathers, referring to him and his wife, instead of saying now we are grandparents. So just be careful with some of these plural forms. I think cousins, parents, those are kind of neutral. I mean, cousine does exist for the feminine plural. But if you were talking about my brothers and sisters, similar in English, you would have to specify my brothers and sisters. If you just said like ils sont mes frères, you would just be looking at a group of men, male brothers. It wouldn't necessarily be a sister. So they would have to have something a little bit more inclusive. Spanish, you could use hermanos, and it could be a mixed group of people on there. So let's look at a couple of phrases on here. So if I was identifying, I could say in the singular, c'est mon frère, c'est ma sœur. But if I was identifying a group of people, but mainly just my brothers, ce sont mes frères. If I was going to say a mixed group, I could have like ce sont mes frères et sœurs. Mes frères et sœurs. If I wanted to have a really inclusive group of brothers and sisters, but otherwise, if I just had ce sont mes frères, ou voici mes frères, ce sont mes sœurs, voici mes sœurs. And if I had a picture of them, like if I showed somebody a language exchange partner on Facebook or something like that, I could say voici une photo de mes frères, or voici une photo de mes sœurs. So frère et sœur, I mean, the pronunciation doesn't really change for the singular or plural form. What you'll have to listen for is this adjective of going from mon, ma to mon to mes frères, or ma sœur, mes sœurs. So this is very typical in French that the last letter, like if there's another consonant and you're making this plural, it's usually not pronounced. So you'll have to look for other indications if people are talking in a singular or plural. Okay. And then talking about what their likes are. So we have in the singular, we have il aime, elle aime, and you will have the plural form il and elle, but we don't hear that s unless the next verb starts with a vowel sound. So ils aiment lire. So this s becomes like a z sound. So ils aiment lire, elles aiment voyager. Otherwise, you wouldn't hear a difference between he likes singular or they like on there. So ils aiment lire, elles aiment voyager. And I have qu'est-ce qu'ils aiment faire, or I could change this around of qu'aiment-ils, and I would pronounce the T if I use the inversion form, the qu'aiment-ils faire. Then you can hear that it's well, actually you'd still hear qu'aiment-ils faire. Yeah, you wouldn't hear too much of a difference between qu'aiment-ils if I put this in the singular, qu'aiment-ils. So that would be a difficult one to know if you are talking about singular or plural. The context would determine this if you were talking about a group of people or one person, which I guess would mean if it was not clear in the context, you might want to use this qu'est-ce qu'ils aiment faire, and you could hear this z for the liaison. That would indicate that you were talking about a plural. So it's a very subtle difference between qu'est-ce qu'il aime faire in the singular form, qu'est-ce qu'il aime faire here, and qu'est-ce qu'ils aiment faire. So it's just a very tiny z form for the for that plural, for the liaison, that would change this. So qu'est-ce qu'ils aiment faire, qu'aiment-ils faire, or qu'est-ce qu'elles aiment faire, qu'est-ce qu'elles aiment faire, or qu'aiment-elles faire. So French pronunciation can be a little challenging sometimes, but and knowing if something is singular or plural can just depend on one sound. So that can be, you might want to work on listening practice with some of these phrases, and also for the pronunciation practice. I mean, you have lots of letters, but they get reduced down to very few sounds. Okay. Do you have any questions so far, Carol? I don't see her there right now, but okay, I'll keep going. And, okay, and here, yeah, I'll just mute this for a second. Okay, and so we have for the origins here. So we have where somebody is from. So we have like in the singular, il est or elle est, or il vient, elle vient. In the plural, we would have ils sont de, or ils viennent de, elles viennent de, or I could also use elles sont de. So I have the S on the plural here, and I could have d'où sont-ils, or I could have d'où sont-elles for the if it's a group of women, or d'où sont-ils, so a mixed group of men or all men. D'où viennent-ils, d'où viennent-elles. Ils vivent dans is where they live, or I could also use the habiter, so elles habitent dans, and I can also change this I could use ils vivent dans, or elles habitent dans, or elles vivent dans. So again, I have those variations here. I could have elles. So I do have some variation that I could use for these phrases of where somebody lives or where they're from. Just for the pronunciation here, so ils vivent dans, or ils habitent dans. I could, if I knew a city, I could also use the a. Ils habitent à Paris, ou elles vivent à Paris, or elles vivent à Paris. I can ask questions here. Où vivent-ils? Où habitent-ils? Où est-ce qu'ils habitent? Où est-ce qu'ils vivent? So I have again that possibility using the où est-ce que. So you have lots of possibilities for asking these questions for that. And où est-ce qu'elles vivent? So you do have those possibilities. Okay, and moving on here, if they're married or not. So we have in the singular, marié, mariée, you don't hear the difference. But again in the plural, you don't hear a difference either. So ils sont mariés, you'd have to listen to the verb sont. So ils sont mariés, elles sont mariées. And I ask a question: sont-ils mariés? Est-ce qu'ils sont mariés? Sont-elles mariées? Est-ce qu'elles sont mariées? So you don't really hear a difference between marié singular, marié singular masculine, and masculine plural, or feminine singular, feminine plural. You don't hear a difference. You'd have to listen for the verb here on there. And moving on for children. So in the singular, we have il a, elle a, but in the plural, we have on, ils ont, and this S is a Z sound. So if you pronounce this as an S sound, you will get ils sont, like we had for the ils sont mariés. So I have ils sont, and for the verb to have, avoir, it's ils ont deux enfants. Elles ont deux enfants. Ont-ils des enfants? Ont-elles des enfants? Est-ce qu'ils ont des enfants? Est-ce qu'elles ont des enfants? So I have these liaisons between this. Est-ce qu'elles ont des enfants? So it's very important to make those like S's sound like a Z sound here. Ils n'ont pas d'enfants. Elles n'ont pas d'enfants. For that. Okay. And what their names are. So in the singular, we have il s'appelle, elle s'appelle. And you're not really going to hear a difference because the ENT in French is not pronounced. So il s'appelle, elle s'appelle. So you'd have to know that something is in the plural if you're talking about multiple people. So il s'appelle, or comment s'appelle-t-il? Here I could hear that it's, no, I wouldn't hear the difference. Comment s'appelle-t-il? Comment s'appelle-t-il? It would be the same for the singular or plural. So the context, it would be really important to distinguish if you're talking about multiple people or one person. And comment est-ce qu'il s'appelle? Comment s'appelle-t-elle? Comment est-ce qu'elle s'appelle? For those ones. So, and then what their ages are here. So if I have il a, elle a in the singular, well, in the plural, I have ils ont, again, this Z sound, ils ont 10 ans, elles ont 20 ans. Quel âge ont-ils? Quel âge ont-elles? For that. Okay. And I would invite you to use these phrases and the vocabulary that you have on here to talk about a friend or family member and make a description in make a description here and leave that as a message or as a comment, and I'll be happy to kind of guide these questions to native speakers. So thank you for watching, and if you like these videos, please like, share, and comment, and there'll be more content coming up in the next lesson to continue working with these expressions and dialogues and kind of combining all of this material. So thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one. Take care.